Thanks very much indeed, Polly. Lovely to see everybody here this evening. Got very little time, so I'm going to sketch out a vision for the city under three brief headings. So the first is about a city where we have high quality of life. The second is a city that's more sustainable, a leading sustainability city. And the third point is about having a dynamic and resilient economy that can deliver both of those priorities. So in terms of a 2020 vision for this city which has a higher quality of life, I think there are three big headings that we need to focus on. One is transport, that's been mentioned already. Another is housing, and the third is education. Now, a lot of the things I'm going to talk about now are delivered through national policy, and so this is why I think you need to choose carefully this evening in terms of who you want in Westminster, because a lot of what will happen in this city in 2020 is going to be decided by politicians in London rather than politicians here. So in terms of the transport side, I think one of the things that we would like to see is much more reliance on clean transport in terms of cycling, pedestrian facilities, and also much more reliance on cleaner vehicles. And in 2020, a lot of us will be driving electric cars, and I think we need to be planning for that now in terms of charging points being installed in schools and supermarkets and so on. We also need to be thinking about how we're going to be connecting the city to the rest of the country, and Nick mentioned a project that I'm very keen on as well, which is restoring some of the rail links that were closed in previous years, especially the east-west link going across towards Oxford, linking Swindon and Norwich effectively. A lot we can do on transport. On housing, we have to find ways in which a lot of the people who presently work in the city can afford to live here. Some of that's about more social housing. I also believe that we need to be making the case in Westminster for a resurrection of council housing, so that we've got a housing stock that's under the control of local authorities, so that people who live in cities can be provided with somewhere proper to live, somewhere decent to live. On education, I think we need to be looking much more about developing decent human beings rather than focusing on targets to achieve SAT results and put people through an academic treadmill. I think one of the problems we've got with crime in this city and other parts of the country is a lot of disillusioned teenagers. One of the ways we can focus on solving that problem is by giving people a different educational experience, which is about the development of people rather than achieving simple academic targets. Again, another big priority for Westminster. In terms of this being a sustainable city, there's a whole range of things we can talk about. I think we should be having zero waste to landfill by 2020. I think we should see a massive increase in the amount of small-scale renewables being deployed here. Solar hot water, PV, heat pumps amongst them. I think by 2020 we could have retrofitted many of this city's houses to be amongst the most efficient in Europe, to Norwegian standards, saving energy, making our fuel security better, ending fuel poverty in the process, and creating lots of jobs, of course. I think we could also be thinking about some of the context of Cambridge. This city's in one of the most degraded parts of the country in terms of natural habitats. I'm lucky enough to be involved in some really exciting large-scale habitat restoration schemes going on inside the Fenland area. And I hope by 2020 we'll all have the opportunity to either walk out there, cycle out there, and have a wilderness experience on our doorstep, a really quite incredible thing, on horseback, by boat, by cycle. These things are going to be in place by 2020, and I do think this is going to lead to a huge increase in the quality of life here. And also, in terms of sustainability, focus on local food. Can we set targets for the hospitals and schools to be buying from local farmers? We create jobs in the countryside, cut food miles, and have a better diet into the bargain. Finally, on the economy, what kind of an economy do we want here in the future? Well, renewables, obviously, we can create loads of jobs there. My vision would be for hundreds of teenagers coming out of school to have apprenticeships in fitting solar hot water systems, be fitting ground source heat pumps. At the moment, there's only a handful of people who can do this. We need to be training those kids to do that now. We also need to be looking at the university in the context of the wider economy and how we're going to link this incredible intellectual resource we've got here with real-world change that's going on out there. One thing that I've been close to a little bit is the Cambridge Conservation Initiative, which is a great example of how you can link up the university with NGOs and other institutions to create a world-leading centre. We need more of that in medicine, in engineering, and of course in some of the big environmental challenges. Finally, I think we need to be making a local economy that's not so much about being in a globalised situation, but a much more localised one. And the university is a big player in that, potentially, in terms of procurement from local businesses, linking up local businesses, and in terms of how we might be shaping the city in the future, given how much of it is run by the university and rental of commercial properties. Perhaps we should be focusing more on encouraging local companies into the city rather than some of the global chains. It's a balance, but I think it will make it more distinctive and more attractive to tourists as well. Thank you so much.